Hello, lover. I'm coming in with a time-sensitive invitation to a very special celebration. Can you believe it's been a whole year since bestseller Sacred Sex Ed was born into the world? This book, this living transmission, turns 1 year old, and I want to celebrate with you. I want to party like it's the birth of your highest self. And in honor of this milestone, most of my signature programs are 25% off until July 13th at midnight. That means that you could save hundreds or even thousands on juicy journeys like Pleasure Priestess, my year-long temple for women on the Tantrika path, or Business and Pleasure, a sensualist guide to six figures and beyond. Maybe Money as a Lover is your ticket to shift your relationship with money into one of empowerment and impact. Also, Turned On by Life, my signature course to turn you from wanting, wishing, and waiting to living a full-fledged tantric life. The Higher Love Club is also part of this promotion. This is my vault of over 50 hours of transformational teachings. And finally, even one-to-one mentorship with me is 25% off. So if Sacred Sex Ed, this book, or even this podcast has cracked something open in you and you've been waiting for the sign to go deeper, this is it. Go to the link in the show notes to find the sale or www.talktantra2me.com/sacred-sale. The celebration closes at midnight on July 13th. Happy birthday, Sacred Sex Ed, and thank you for being a part of this revolution. Hello, lover. You've just entered a portal of pleasure, power, and deep, unapologetic sensuality. This is Talk Tantra to Me, where we liberate your authentic self, reclaim the wisdom of the body, and let pleasure lead the way. I'm your guide, Leola, Tantrika, Pleasure Priestess, best-selling author of Sacred Sex Ed, and devoted student of the erotic mysteries. I'm here to strip away shame and awaken your most radiant, sacred, and sensual self. Get in, babe. We're conspiring for your most pleasurable life and seducing the world into a greater good. So, take a deep breath with a vocal exhale, relax that delicious body of yours, and let's talk Tantra. Welcome to Talk Tantra to Me. It is such an honor to be holding space for this divine knowledge to make its way into your ears and lifestyle. Wow, babes, we've been doing this podcast for almost 5 years. It's been nearly 200 episodes, and it's also been 500,000 downloads. 500,000 downloads have happened to this podcast, and I'm just so freaking honored to have such an incredible community and have so many beautiful change makers and powerful priestesses and penis owners and all the things tuning into this podcast. It's been really, really sweet, and I'm really happy to be coming back after a 2-month hiatus. I'm really loving this new cadence that we have with the podcast. If you guys are new here, I used to release an episode every week for like 3 years, and then I shifted a little bit, and then I shifted it again. And by the way, this podcast is going to be a little bit of a mix of like life update, but also really deep, powerful teaching. So stay with me. And I'm about to go into like a little mini teaching, I suppose, on right relationship, because I feel like that's something that I found with the podcast. And it's something that I'm naturally just beginning to riff on and talk about. And that's so much of what this podcast is at this point in my journey, is just like riffing and channeling and seeing what comes through. And so, yeah, when I launched this podcast, it was very much a commitment, right? It's this commitment of, okay, I want this platform to succeed. I want this wisdom to get to as many people as possible. And what do I need to do? And who do I need to be for that to happen? And for me, that was being very consistent and releasing an episode every week for years. And I think that that's really great and fine and well. And just like in relationships out in our lives, we can start to create these expectations of what it means to have a successful relationship or have a meaningful relationship or whatever. And in reality, there is such a thing as right relationship. And right relationship is a little bit more surrendered to the soul contract of yourself and that person or that entity, like the podcast, right? And it's just like in romantic relationships. I think that's the best example of right relationship because, very often when we meet a new person, when we're out dating, we box them into either like do they fit into this projection of what I think a relationship should be? And usually it's some reflection of like a Disney movie or your favorite sitcom or whatever, when in reality, there are so many different relating styles. There's so many ways that relationships can evolve that are just as valid and could be way more expansive and liberating for you. And the same is true with the podcast. Like, when I first started this podcast, I was doing so much research about what is a successful podcast, what works. And a lot of them were do an episode every week and be really consistent. And that worked for me for a long time. But just like I get to grow with my relationships and renegotiate in my romantic relationships and my friendships, I also get to do that with the podcast. And I'm feeling really good in this season where, about a year ago, we switched to doing podcasts every 2 weeks instead of every week. That felt really good. Then I decided to take in the fall, I decided to take an indefinite break from the podcast. I had a feeling I'd come back to it, but I also just wasn't sure. And sure enough, we came back after about 2 months. And now I'm feeling like this is the new template. This is the new template. So this is what you can probably expect, is that I'm going to be doing probably another 4 months of solid podcasting. This is just the beginning of the 4 months. This is my comeback episode after taking a 2-month break. I've got some incredible guests lined up. I've got some incredible conversations, some beautiful teachings, and who knows what life is going to happen in the next 4 months that will also impact this episode. But we're gonna have these 4 months, and then over the holidays, we'll take a little 2-month hiatus. We'll tease you guys. We'll get you all amped up, build that longing and anticipation for another 4 months, probably in the spring. That's my plan. I'm not gonna swear to anything, but that's my intention. So I hope you're enjoying this cadence. I also kind of hope that you want even more from me, but this is what feels right and true for me in this season. And I just appreciate you guys for being along for the ride, because I've noticed that even though I'm doing less episodes in this season of life, y'all are really tuning in, and I love that and I appreciate that. So that being said, this episode is going to be kind of similar to how we've done episodes in the past of late, where it's going to be like a little bit of like a life update, but also really weaving in the tantric principles and the tantric lifestyle that I live. Because I have found that in the tantra world, a lot of the teachings can feel airy-fairy or esoteric. And my intention in this space is to make this world feel playful and approachable. And I find that sharing my real life examples, sharing, transformations that my clients have been through anonymously or with their consent, tend to really allow people to see the possibility of actually applying my teachings to their real life. So that's what it's going to be today. We're going to do a little life update, and we're going to do a big teaching that's going to be relevant for you, especially if you have emotions. This is going to be one where we're going to talk really deeply about emotional alchemy specifically. So if you have emotions, keep listening. You're in the right place. Even if you haven't been through my lived experience, which you haven't, there are going to be things that are relatable themes and relatable emotions that we're going to talk about, and how you can move through those things in a beautiful tantric way. So that being said, yeah, it's been about 2 months. I've been in this really beautiful portal, tuning really deeply into myself, getting to know this version of myself that is blossoming into a new chapter. And one of the things I've done, and if you're watching the video, you'll notice this, that we're recording in a completely new space that I haven't recorded in yet on this podcast. We're at my house. This is my office. And I've redecorated some things in here. This is actually one of the rooms that I've touched the least, because I started out with this space being very like me, but a couple of years ago when we moved into this house, which it's like a whole other amazing story in of itself, the manifestation that got me this house. And I think that I should do like a whole podcast episode about my my biggest sex magic manifestations. So if you want to hear that, DM me and I'll make it. But I felt like when we moved into this house, a lot was going on. I was really putting a lot of my energy into my business and my marriage. And our home, while I did put a lot of energy into our home as well, probably compared to most people, I probably gave it like 70%. And that's not really who I am. I'm someone that like really needs to give it 100% to fully settle in to anything that I'm doing, but especially my home. And so I decorated it, but it really felt like I kind of just took past versions of Andrew and I, our lives, our decor, and just tried to fit it into this like Texas farmhouse, like really rustic Texas farmhouse. And that's just not really us. Although I did grow up in that environment. It just isn't really who we are. So I wanted to kind of, I mean, it is who we are, but it's not like the main part of who we are. So I've kind of renovated a lot of the house from this, like, my inspiration has been like bougie, maximalist, Hollywood Regency, French boudoir kind of vibe. So this is like audio, this is a podcast, so I can't like vlog and show you everything. But I do events here every now and again. So come to one of my events and maybe it'll be at my house. Maybe you'll see. So yeah, I'm really happy and I'm proud of my house. Some would call what I have been doing nesting. Nesting is something that you do when you are pregnant or wanting to become pregnant, like really prepping the house, yada, yada. For me, that wasn't an intentional thing. I just really felt like I was in this journey of like, I really want to explore these like different parts of my personality. Like I've made my business my personality, no regrets, but I'd like to like continue to do my business, especially the things I've committed to, but I'd also like to put a little bit more energy into these other parts of me. So that's what the intention was. But we also did open up a conscious conception portal in mid-April. And you know, this podcast is like really bittersweet for me to be recording because a couple of weeks ago, I was really excited about this comeback episode because I thought that it was going to be I'm pregnant and here's the journey of our conscious conception. And I have this whole teaching on longing and like ritualizing everything. And I can't wait to share it with you and share the magic of bringing life into this world through my womb, you know, like awesome. But that's not what this is in the end because I was pregnant and then I wasn't. I experienced a miscarriage and that reminded me like how precious life is, you know? And so this episode is actually going to be something completely different. And it's a little bit like obviously for all of the reasons, like this has been a huge loss. It's been very sad. I'm going to share more about it in the episode and how it might relate to you. But it's also just a bummer because I was really excited to share the story with you, to share how it happened, what happened, the magic, because it was magical every stage, every step of the way. And maybe I'll share a little bit about it in this episode. I'm just going to see where things go, but I also want to be really mindful because I can tend to just like keep on chattering away and then suddenly we're at 90 minutes and I'm like, I still have more things I want to say. So I feel like that's going to be a further episode, ideally when I'm pregnant again, and I can share a little bit more about opening the portal and the rituals that we did and how we got there and like the bumps along the road. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So I was pregnant and then I wasn't. And it's brought up a lot and it's been really challenging for me, for my relationship. I mean, like the experience in of itself was so painful emotionally, physically, spiritually. It was one of those moments where it's like, I want to die. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. That's how it felt. That's how it felt when I was in the depths of it. Like, what is this reality where things can go from feeling so beautiful, so perfect, so magical to like everything crashing down. And I think one thing that I'll share is going into this season of conscious conception, motherhood, I worked so hard in my life to come to a place where I felt ready in every area of my life to bring in a new life. And this felt like the ultimate reward. Pregnancy felt like, becoming pregnant felt like everything I've ever worked for is finally coming together for this like particular piece. I had this moment like when I was pregnant where I was like, I've made it. I've really, really made it in life. I did all of the things that I could imagine to bring my purpose to the world, to build out this incredibly successful business that is led from pleasure. I've worked so hard on my relationship, my marriage, to get like my community, like in this home, we bought a house. Like I've done all of the things to feel fully ready to do this. And now I have this last piece and I've made it. Like to me, becoming pregnant was like, this is the pinnacle of my success. And then life did what life does. It ended. And that was so devastating. And I've gone back and forth about what I want to share about this, how I want to share it, when I want to share it. And what ultimately led to me recording today was actually a quote that kind of came up on my Instagram, and it said, "Depressed people die sooner." Sorry, that's my my trauma response to messing up is gibberish. Depressed people die sooner, age faster, and develop disease. You have to fall in love with life. You have to. And it said that this came from an account, I am Kimmy Honora, but then I couldn't find the account, so I actually don't fully know who this is from. But it just really struck me, and it brought me to this place of like, yeah, I've been wanting to record an episode about emotional alchemy for a while, and this is maybe the perfect time to do it. So I'm just gonna riff here. I'm just gonna see what kind of comes out. I do have like a few notes, but I'm gonna try to like weave into the notes what I've been going through in my own experience, and maybe it'll be supportive to you. I don't know. But to me, this quote just really, really hit because it's true. Like being in love with your life is medicine. Pleasure is medicine. And you have to be a master at emotional alchemy to be able to move through the realities of this life and to come to that place of pleasure. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck, shut down, numbed out, and you're going to be killing yourself, basically. That's a little bit dramatic, but it's what I truly believe. And I'll share more about why I believe that as we go through this episode. But my truth is that you have to fall in love with life to live a life worth living and a life that's going to have the greatest capacity for longevity. That's my belief. So we're going to talk about what that means. So let me just look at my notes and see where I want to start with this. This is it's such a tender like place that I'm going to today. So yeah, I might be a little bit more chaotic than normal, but we're going to do our best here. So it's my truth that you didn't come here to live in this space where you're withering, where you're shrinking, to be in this slow death. And you didn't incarnate into this body just to numb out, to wither away, to check off to-do lists. You came here to feel. You came here to make love to life, to get the most out of it, to say yes with your full body, with your full experience on a day-to-day basis. So if you're sitting around thinking that my pleasure is optional, that my joy is an afterthought, that it shouldn't be a priority, babe, guess what? You're really missing out. You're really missing the whole point, because that's really where your juice, where your medicine, where your magic is going to be found. Falling in love with your life is a non-negotiable. I want you to just like, if you take anything from this, like falling in love with your life is a non-negotiable. But it's really hard when life is what life is. And that's a piece that I've been in. That's a piece that I've been in deeply in this space of miscarriage, like the portal that I've been through in this space of like, okay, I just lost the thing that was really lighting me up, was giving me this new depth of meaning in this next chapter of my life, this thing that I've been wanting, that I've been working for. And it was an excruciating experience. And now I've got to put myself back out there for more heartbreak. Because here's the truth. Like, this has been one of the biggest lessons for me in this miscarriage is I cannot control everything. At the end of the day, like, we are co-creating with the universe. We are co-creating with the universe. Miscarriage is not something that I chose, but I can choose how I respond to it. And like, but to me, this miscarriage has brought up like this really deep childhood wounding of just like when I was young and I was growing up in a really chaotic, messy environment with lots of traumatic experiences, I felt so out of control. And so a lot of my success, a lot of my lived experience, a lot of my journey has been about reclaiming my control, reclaiming myself as the creator of my reality. But at the end of the day, life is a mystery. We don't know what will happen. We can do all the planning in the world. But at the end of the day, it's a co-creation. We are not just the creators of our reality. We are co-creating with God, Spirit, the universe, our higher self, our ancestors, whatever you believe in, right? And so there's this balance, and this is a very tantric principle. There's this balance of I am the conscious co-creator. I can choose how I respond to this. There are things that are within my control, particularly how I receive my experience. But there are also things that are out of my control. Life is a mystery. And that's been really challenging for me. And I think that probably a lot of people relate to this when they have something that happens in their life that is out of their control. It can create this deep feeling of dis-ease and lack of safety. And that's been a lot of what has been brought up. And especially over the last couple of days, like the grief around the miscarriage has come in waves. And I think that one thing that's particularly challenging about this experience compared to other experiences of loss that I've had in my life, which are there and deep and were harder in some ways, like death of a loved one is like one of the hardest experiences I've ever been through. But the silver lining of that type of experience is that it's done. Like once someone dies, they are dead and you accept it, and it's just the process of accepting and moving on. Whereas with this experience of miscarriage, I have to now put myself in the line of fire again. It's very similar though to falling in love, right? Like to fall in love, here's another little tantric principle. Let's just like, I wish I had these like numbered. Principle number 2. I did not that prepared. But it's just like when you fall in love, right? Like let's say you go through a really devastating heartbreak, and then there's this contraction that happens that's almost this fear of reopening to further intimacy with another person in the future, because the heartbreak was so intense that it's like, oh, do I want to go through that again? Do I want to reopen myself to the love and the connection that I once felt? Because I know that inevitably it's going to end in heartbreak. And I actually write about this in my book, that one of the most vulnerable things that you can do is to fall in love, because the more you open yourself up to love, you are inversely opening yourself up to pain, right? Because whether that love that you experience with this new person in this new relationship, whether that love ends in a breakup or death, it's going to come to an end. You know that. There's no escaping the ending in love in this reality. Harsh truth. It fucking sucks. I don't love it, and I do. And it turns me on, and it excites me. It's the fact that there's an end that I am able to be so present in the love and so appreciative and grateful, because I know that it will come to an end. Whew, that got me. And I've been experiencing that in my journey of processing motherhood and this miscarriage, because I'm in this really crunchy space of I am now a mother. I created life, and it ended way too soon. I see you, sister, already so spiritual, deeply devoted to your path, but something in you knows there's more. You've meditated, manifested, maybe even danced under the full moon, but have you fully felt the power of your unapologetic pleasure and sensuality? Have you allowed your body to become your greatest teacher? Have you stepped into leadership in love? The Pleasure Priestess Initiation is your next step. A full year of deep sisterhood where we do life and love together. Online, in ritual, month after month, and in the flesh for a juicy in-person immersion. We'll explore powerful Tantra practices that you can take home and adapt, whether for your beloved, your sisters, or even for your own community. Plus, we'll have amazing guest sexperts, medicine women, and other powerful priestesses already walking the path, coming to share their expertise with you, as well as group masterminds, an electric WhatsApp chat, and high-level support as you step into your fullest expression. The initiation is open for enrollment now to start at the end of October. But as soon as you join, you get access to the vault of over 70 hours of previous Tantra trainings, resources, and the vault of our past guest teachers. This is more than a program. It's an initiation into your power, into your pleasure, into the woman you know you came here to be. Are you ready to awaken the pleasure priestess within? Click the link in the show notes to claim your seat in the temple, or visit us at www.talktantratome.com/pleasure. It's this no man's land, right? And it also gave me a teeny tiny baby taste of the heartbreak that I know I will experience when I have this baby in my arms as it grows up. And over the past couple of days, there's been this really traumatic experience that's happened not far from us. There was this insane flash flood that washed away. It washed away dozens of girls, young girls. I'm still in it. It washed away these like beautiful girls, and there's still like over 20 girls missing, young girls. And we found out that our baby was a girl literally the day that I started miscarrying. I technically miscarried 2 days later, but the symptoms started that day that we found out that we were having a girl. And I just have been putting myself in this place of imagining, what if that was our daughter? What if our daughter, I didn't have a miscarriage and she grew up and then she was in this freak insane accident, was carried away and died. Oh my God. So this experience has really awakened me to this, like, do I really want this? Like, do I want to open myself up to this deep love that I know in some way, shape, or form will end in heartbreak? Just like the depth of love that I experience with my husband will one day end in one way or another. And Andrew and I always, like, we have this sort of joke that we want to do I forgot what it's like technically called. It's something like assisted suicide or something, like when we're both old and we're like, one of us is on our deathbed, we'll just do like a suicide together. So that we don't really have to experience that loss and that grief. But yeah, so I've been in this really tender place of realizing like the depth of surrender and the depth of vulnerability that motherhood is. And I experienced this tiny taste of it in this miscarriage, this tiny taste of the heartbreaking nature of becoming a mom. Because even if my child has the most perfect youth, that's not traumatic at all, and there's no freak accidents, like, she's going to go away to college. She's going to get married. She's going to make mistakes. She's going to hurt herself. She's going to harm other people. And like the heartbreak is going to feel what it's going to feel like. And is it worth it? That's the question, right? Is it worth it to open myself up to the potential love, knowing that heartbreak is inevitable at some point in the journey? I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know that it's going to happen. And so that's a lot of what I've been sitting with. That's a lot of what I've been sitting with. That deep knowing of, yeah, I can't control everything, but I do get to choose. I do get to choose knowing this tiny taste of heartbreak, do I still choose motherhood? Do I still choose this path? And I would be lying to you if there weren't parts of me that were like, you know what? Life is great. Just Andrew and I and the dogs. Maybe this is maybe we should just keep it. And I also know that the deeper truth, my higher self is a mother and is fully embodied and expressed in that. And so what I do get to choose is, again, how am I going to respond to this? How am I going to choose to see this as a sacred reminder of the preciousness of life? How am I going to choose to see this as an invitation to move in the world in a way that creates the type of world that I want my daughter to be raised in, that I want my children to grow up in? And that's been a big piece is, I was planning on kind of coming back to the podcast at this time. I was planning on coming back to my business at this time already. But before I miscarried, I was like, I'm just so enjoying being in my domestic portal of bliss. And I knew though, I also knew while I was enjoying it, I was like, and I know that I'm not meant to just be a stay-at-home mom. I know that I am meant to go back to my business. And when the time comes, I will be ready. I'm not going to force anything. I'm not going to push anything. And wildly, just as by the way, oh my God. Okay. So the last couple of months, it's not like I haven't been working. I've actually been working, but I haven't been selling. I haven't been showing up regularly on social media. I haven't been sending out emails. I haven't been trying to do anything. And I've weirdly had magnetism. I've weirdly had some insane work opportunities just float my way without having to try that are deeply abundant and so fuck yes, amazing 5-figure private clients coming in, selling a part of my business that I've loved for an amazing price, handing it off to someone that I deeply love and trust, amazing events where I don't have to get anyone to go to the event or sell a ticket. I just get to show up and be in my magic and get paid to do that. It's been really great. And I also know that for me to make the most impact, I have to show up more, or I get to show up more on social media. I get to show up and allow this work to amplify and be seen by more eyes. But anyways, one of the beautiful things about this miscarriage is that it has very organically reignited my energy back into my business. And part of that is from this place of, again, I want to create a world that I want my daughter to be raised in. That's one thing that I can control, is that I can actively make an impact in this world by showing up as my authentic self and inspiring other people to do the same, giving them the codes to slay their shame, giving them the codes to slay their shame and experience deeply fulfilling intimacy. I can do that. I can choose that right now, whether I'm pregnant or not. And so that's what I'm gonna fucking do. Okay? So, hey. Oh my God. I hope you guys are enjoying all of this. I don't know. And I think there's also a part of me that's in this messiness of what can I control? Well, that's again, part of this miscarriage that's been so frustrating is it's not my fault. There's not really anything you can do about it. There's nothing that I can force in pregnancy. It's such a waiting game. It's infuriating for me. The amount of pregnancy tests I took too early because I was so excited to know, did it work? Did it not? But I want to find out the neurosis that I am as a trying to conceive woman is cute and crazy. But everything in my life that I've put my mind to, I've accomplished, and it's been very much in my control. While it didn't always feel like it was in my control, it's been way more in my control than right now what it feels like to get pregnant and bring a life to full fruition. So I feel part of my going back into my business is a little bit of a trauma response of all right, well, what can I control? I did very similar things when Andrew and I were going through a little bit of a rough patch, and there's been rough patches where we've been going through where I really couldn't focus on my business, and I was struggling so much in our moving through stuff that it felt really difficult to show up in my business. But there's also been seasons where I was this is a shit show, and I need to just let me just create this brand new offer in my business that's not at all related to relationships. And it was actually really supportive to me, but it's also like, I'm just sharing, like, there's light and shadow and everything, right? And like the light in this is like, I'm going to create a world that like, I'm going to create a world that's better just by being better in it and blah, blah, blah. And then there's also the side of me that's like, what can I control, you know? So just being real, just being raw, just being authentic. So all that being said, I want to go a little bit deeper and talk about emotional alchemy. I'm going to like go back to my notes now because I would just like kind of went off on a whole thing. I don't have a lot of notes. I just also do have some notes, and they're the more teaching stuff because I'm kind of taking some teachings from something else that I once taught, and I want to hit you guys with the magic. So let's talk about emotional alchemy because this is something that is such an important skill in life. And I want to return to first, again, this quote that I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I started recording this episode and I restarted and I'm like, wait, what did I say in this restart that, like, did I say this already? So if I'm repeating myself, my apologies, but I'm just going to reiterate it either way. I saw this quote on Instagram today that really got me like, I'm going to record this because I think I said this. I'm sorry if I'm repeating it, but we're going to go back to it. So I saw this quote and it really was like, I'm going to record this episode today. This is my sign that it's time. Depressed people die sooner, age faster, and develop disease. You have to fall in love with life. You have to. And the account that apparently this came from is, I am Kimia Nora, but then I couldn't find the account, so I don't know. But either way, I really appreciated that. Like, that to me was my nudge of like, it's time to tell this story. So depressed people die sooner, age faster, and develop disease. You have to fall in life. You have to. But guess what? It's fucking hard as fuck to fall in love with life when you are going through immense loss or a traumatic experience of any kind. And I just want to talk about like, that is so real. And like, what do you actually do about it? Like, how do you move through the world as a priestess, as someone that's able to alchemize the realities of this world and know and trust that there's something there for you and that this is happening on purpose? And so let's get into that. I think that one thing that I just want to start off with is acknowledging that if you're listening to this, maybe you're a sensitive girly, and maybe you're someone that's like a little bit disconnected from your emotions. And either way, you are welcome here. You are welcome here, and there is something here for you. But I think that a lot of women, especially, get this programming or reaction when we are emotional that like you're too sensitive or you're crazy. You're a crazy girl. Like, there have been comments, not naming names, but there have been comments in the media about, you know, women on their periods and oh my God, they're so like unpredictable and like we could never have a female president because of that. And it's like, that is so insane to me because honestly, like, it's the fact that we have a heart and are tuned into our emotions that allow us to be compassionate to the whole of human experience and make us incredible leaders because we're actually able to tune into other people and not be selfish political assholes. Just saying. So all of this is said to really put a nail in the coffin of the death of the "you are too sensitive" movement, because you are not too sensitive. The rest of the world is just numb, and the rest of the world glorifies and celebrates people for numbing out, for pushing through. And where has that gotten us? Where has that gotten us? Take a moment and think about it. Are you happy with the state of the world today? Because I'm a little unimpressed. Not holistically, generally speaking, where I'm at, who I associate myself with, I am happy with. But on a big scale, with the amount of technology and advancement that our society has experienced over the past few hundred years, it's pretty crazy to me when I look at what's going on in the world. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. I don't know. I just want to say again, I'm very grateful. I don't want to be like doomsday. I'm not one of those people, but yeah. So the rest of the world, blanket statement. I don't love generalizations, but I also kind of do. So a lot of the world is bottling up what they're feeling. Like we're desensitized to violence and we're addicted to distractions. We are so addicted to distractions. And even if you think you're not addicted to a distraction, I can promise you, you are. I am. I'm going to own it. That's part of shadow work. You got to own it. Because there are also like healthier or more societally accepted distractions too. But a lot of us are addicted to scrolling on our phones, TV, alcohol, drugs. Relationships are a huge distraction that we use to feel our feelings. Very often we want to project it's the other person, it's not me, they're causing all of this, not taking responsibility for yourself and staying in these toxic dynamics that are distracting you from stepping into your higher self. Work, another great distraction that we are like so rewarded for. Like this is like the pinnacle distraction in the modern world. Like work hard, produce, make more money, get the accolades, climb up the corporate ladder. And it looks so good and shiny. And it's like, this is a beautiful part of me. And yeah, it is. And there's a shadow side and it's you're distracting yourself from feeling your shit. We are so often rewarded for toughening up and pushing through. And I don't want to like discount that. The last episode that I did, and if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it. It's probably one of my favorite episodes that I've ever recorded. And it's called Why I Don't Trust Women, Calling Forth Integrity, because I do think that there's like this balance of like, there are times and place where you should, get your shit together, toughen up a little bit, follow through on your commitments. But there's also like a toxic pattern of doing that. And like bypassing your feelings. Like you can do both. Like you can follow through on your commitments and also feel your feelings. So permission granted. But I think for women especially, and for men, it is common for us to either like become bitter or harden and take on this like cold ice queen, like cold, like wicked witch energy. And that's a shadow of the feminine. That's a shadow of particularly the dark feminine, is this energy of just like, I'm going to stuff down my emotions. I'm going to shut it all down. And not good for you, not good for the world. Or on the other end of the extreme, the reaction to the emotions is like to become chaotic in your emotional expression and unable to alchemize the pain and the evil that they see and just like getting stuck and swamped down in it. I think a really great example of this is like Reddit. Like on Reddit, people like are like, the world is awful and like everybody's awful. And like their whole personalities becoming trolls on Reddit. And it's like, whoa, like you have some unresolved feelings that you might want to look at, right? So that's like like one, big piece, something to recognize. Like, I think that another example of this chaotic expression is like, yeah, just like taking up a lot of space and like, not, like always being in that energy and not getting curious about why is this happening to me? Like, what if my depression were a teacher? What is it trying to tell me? What is my grief trying to teach me? Being curious. Instead of just getting so stuck in it that the emotions begin to rule your life and become your entire personality. No one's personality is depression. No one's authentic self is depression. That's something is off. There is some type of block that is happening. And in my opinion, there's emotional alchemy could be an answer. But what I do want to acknowledge is that your sensitivity is a gift. Your sensitivity is a superpower. As I alluded to before, this sensitivity, this deeply feeling part of yourself, activates compassion and it allows you to work with subtle realms and read energy. Like the more you tune into your emotions, the more intuitive you're going to become because you're in a state of listening and curiosity with yourself. And that's also going to expand your capacity to listen to and get curious about the world around you. And I want to acknowledge that, especially when we're like, it can hurt, right? Like it can hurt, especially when our sensitivity is linked to a painful experience or a trauma. But the more that we heal those traumas, the more that we go into our emotions, the more that we get curious about the alchemy that's available, the more powerful we become, actually, because we're able to hold more for ourselves, and we're also able to hold more in the world. And that's a really beautiful thing, right? So I see this over and over again in the world, and also with the people that I work with, because we are so emotionally, sexually, and spiritually backed up as a society, because we're unwilling to feel the hard things. We're unwilling to fully go there. Like, it would have been so easy for me to just pretend like this miscarriage didn't happen. And I think that that's something that like I want to talk about, is that so many women go through this experience of miscarriage or loss and don't talk about it, don't have a space. They just like carry on. Like, maybe they have a cry to their partner and then they just go back to their life. And like, I get it. Like, everyone's experience is different, but I truly believe that like, it's really, really valuable to allow yourself to go through the whole grieving process, because there's medicine in there for you. There's learnings, there's teachings. And that's part of why, like, part of my healing process is talking about this with you guys and sharing this experience. And it's been really beautiful. Even just what I've shared so far, I shared a little bit about it on social media. And this was like one of my most engaged posts I've ever done. I had so many people reach out to me and comment and share their own experiences of loss, and like how seen they felt, and how like it helped them like process things. And like, I think that there's something that I teach about in my containers, and I'm just going to drop it here very lightly, is that when we share our stories, when we share our truth, we initiate each other into our own truth. I hope that listening to this podcast, whether it's this episode or another episode, something in it has resonated with you and it's initiated you into some awareness, some truth. Like, whether it be me sharing my past trauma and you being like, oh my God, I think that happened to me too, and maybe I get to heal that. Or like, I'm sharing like some download, some sex magic ritual, some magnetic piece, and that's initiating you into the possibility of what is possible for you, right? And so I think that there's a lot of medicine in just sharing our real, authentic experience, because it can initiate each other into possibility, into truth, into healing, etc. And that's what the experience has been like for me. Just gonna take a break. I feel like I've been just running a million miles a minute. I'm gonna take a little sip of my drink. Such an emotionally charged episode. Okay, so when we back ourselves up, when we bottle up our emotions, we are also shutting ourselves off. Like, when we bottle up the hard things, when we're unwilling to feel the hard things, by default, we're also shutting ourselves off from receiving the care and the holding our dear ones desire to offer us. Like, that's one thing that I've experienced in like the last 3 years. I've had like a few really big initiations around loss and grief. And one of the most beautiful things that I've been able to experience in that is the way that the community that I've built has shown up in that, because that wasn't always true. At the beginning of my Tantra journey, I was so alone, crying halfway across the world in my room. In some of the other, like I got into a really bad accident and like no one was answering. Like, I didn't have anyone to go to in that time. And to be where I am now, having been committed to this journey for all this time and seeing what it's created in my reality, like now I'm in the deepest moments of loss. And while there's so much loss around me, there's also so much love pouring into me. So I think that that's a really important part of being really authentic in your grief as well. But there's also this saying that the more you, like, receiving is a muscle, right? But we can't be discriminatory in how we receive. If we want to truly expand our capacity to receive, then we have to be willing to receive all that life gives us, not just the sexiness and the abundance and the joy and the pleasure and the shiny things, but also the initiatory experiences, like a miscarriage, like the loss of a loved one, like not landing your dream job, like whatever it is. Like, if we're not willing to fully feel the impact of those experiences, we're also shutting off our ability to receive and experience the really explosive and delicious parts of life as well. So just note that. Am I someone that's unwilling to receive the hard bits that also have something for me? Because once you numb yourself out from receiving the difficult emotions, you're also going to numb yourself out from receiving the delicious parts of lived experience. And what I see often happens with that is that you find addictive and distractive ways to feel alive. Like I have a client that very much has been going through this. She experienced sexual assault. She experienced the death of a child. And over time, she became so numbed out that she started doing really destructive behaviors to her relationship, to herself, to her body, because those were the moments where she could feel something finally. And notice, like, is that you? Is that something that you've experienced? So, a big part of this too is seeing the body as a mystery school. And I talked about this in a recent episode, so I'm not going to go too deep in this today, but maybe I'll let you guys know what episode number that was. Hold on, let me pull it up. Have my laptop right in front of me. It was episode 189, My Body is a Mystery School. Highly recommend that one. It's very compatible with this one. But yeah, I also just want to note that emotion is energy in motion. And so when we bottle up, we like any emotions that get bottled up, stuck, or imbalanced can create dis-ease in the energetic body, which often manifests as physical disease, especially if left unaddressed. So, and I talk about this a lot in my course, Turned On by Life. You can find it on my website. This is like the whole premise of this course is not just emotional alchemy. It's like, how do you create a life that you love? How do you unsubscribe from the American dream that isn't so dreamy and build something that really lights you up? Like just it's like a broad strokes, create a tantric lifestyle. But, and it's a journey through the chakra system. Chakras are subtle energy centers that are located along your central spine, blah, 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 blah. You guys know this, I feel like, anyways. But understanding these chakras might help you identify where you have energy blocks, lingering fears, and work through them for a more liberated experience. And that's what Turned On by Life is all about. So yeah, just something to think about. So let me just return to my notes and see if there's other things. I feel like I'm kind of wanting to like go in a different direction. So maybe I'll just do that. So a lot of what happens when, like, to me, one of the most powerful ways that we can move through our emotions and use our emotions as teachers is to make art out of our emotions, to make something beautiful out of what we are experiencing. To me, she who has mastered emotional alchemy is she who uses her feelings to make change in the world, to make art, to step into her purpose, to bring people into their hearts. And I would bet that most people listening to this podcast have done this in some way, shape, or form. If you are listening to this, like taking a moment here to consider, am I someone that's become maybe like a therapist, a doctor, a coach, or built a business, or wrote a book, or anything along the lines that has come from a pain piece, has come from something that was deeply painful that you experienced, that you then in some way, shape, or form were inspired to support other people in it? If so, like that is the peak emotional alchemy. And that's something that, again, like I've been deeply experiencing and I talk to you guys about is, okay, how can I use this miscarriage as an opportunity to talk on my podcast about, you know, heartbreak and vulnerability and like choosing your life, being a conscious creator. Like yesterday I was working really deeply on like my next event series. I took a couple of months off of like I did some events, but they were like organized by other people. I just had to come and do my magic. But now I'm getting into this place of like creating my own events again and like selling tickets and like marketing and all that stuff. And I'm going to be going to LA and New York. I'm also doing an event here in Austin. We have the Tantra Love Retreat coming up. Amazing. And I was putting together the materials for these events, and I was thinking about like, what do I want to teach? Like, what do I want to talk about? Like, what feels really alive? Like, I will say that if you come to my workshops, if you've been to one of my workshops in the past, they're always different. Like, I very rarely copy and paste the exact same thing. It's very inspired by what I'm feeling individually and collectively. And so I was really like, oh my God, I have a feeling that these are going to be some really deep, powerful, emotional workshops because of what I'm experiencing right now and what I want to bring. Like, I like was putting together the like thinking about which exercises I wanted to do and how I wanted to set them up, because I do sometimes repeat the things that we do, but the way that you tee it up, the intention that you set before going into the experience changes everything. I did an event in LA a few months ago, and it was right after our Tantra Love Retreat. And a few people that were at the Tantra Love Retreat came to that event. And I was like, oh, I've got to make sure I don't do anything from the Tantra Love Retreat at the event, because I don't want that. Like, I want them to have new stuff. But like, based on what I was doing something, I was really focusing on this energy of devotion for that workshop, because that was what was really alive for me. And we did one exercise that we did at the Tantra Love Retreat that I repeated at this workshop, but I teed it up from this intention of devotion rather than in the Tantra Love Retreat, I do it in a different way. So I teed it up from the energy of devotion, and it was completely different. And in fact, like, it wasn't just me, it was felt, because one of the participants said to me, I just did this a week ago at the Tantra Love Retreat, and it was completely different because you said, move from this energy. And I did, and I had a wildly different experience. And so, yeah, I think that like, I'm really excited for these events that are coming up, because they are going to be really built on like the preciousness of life. If you want to be in a place of like pleasure and like using pleasure as prayer and being in this energy of like turned on by life and really connected to the power of the present moment and like how precious life is, and like consciously choosing how you're going to show up in any given moment, you should come to these events. Again, they're in LA, New York, and Austin. Hopefully you're somewhere nearby. I also think I'm going to be doing a free online event again soon, so stay tuned. And then obviously we do a bunch of stuff in the Pleasure Priestess as well. If you're a woman, that's a great container to join to have like super regular ritual in your life. But yeah, I just wanted to share that as like, that's my lived experience. That's what I'm choosing to do in this season to alchemize what I'm experiencing, is like, how can this loss bring a deeper tone into my work? Motherhood was already doing that. Like, I was already feeling that, like, I'm really excited for this journey of motherhood because I know how it's going to impact the mothers that I work with and the non-mothers that I work with. Like, just that level of, again, surrender and responsibility. I'm really curious and excited to see what else shifts with that. So I feel like I'm kind of winding down. I'm actually really proud of myself for doing this in less than an hour. I want to see if there's anything else. I'm just like looking at my notes and I'm like, did I forget anything? Oh, yeah, I guess I could talk a little bit about, I kind of want to leave it though. I feel like this this episode ended up going somewhere like kind of different than I intended. And I really love when that happens. Okay, I'll just drop this last piece. I've talked about this on the podcast a little bit before, but there are 4 types of sex. There's a whole episode about the 4 types of sex. Let me just find it for shits and gigs. 4 types of sex. It's an older episode, so it's not showing up for whatever reason. Okay, let's try this again. There it is. It's episode 107. It's only a 17-minute episode, so no excuses to not listen. It's really easy and simple. Maybe I'll just say, for emotional alchemy, go listen to that episode. Go listen to 107, 4 types of sex, and get a sexy little tool for emotional alchemy that can be really powerful. And I will just give you an example of what I talk about. One thing that's been really supportive in this experience of miscarriage is connecting with my husband sexually. It's been deeply challenging because we're in this space of like, we had this really magical, beautiful experience. We created a life through sex. We're all here because of sex. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And now we're on the other side of this miscarriage. I don't know when I'm going to be ovulating again. I don't know like what the path is going to be. Like, again, like I could get pregnant again immediately, or I could like, here's some interesting facts about conception that you might not know. Fact number 1, any given time, any given cycle, you have about a 25% chance of getting pregnant. That's the overall percentage. Obviously that depends on the person. Some people are more fertile. Some people are what they call hyperfertile, where you implant, you become pregnant very easily, but it's almost like biologically a bit of a problem because you're more likely to implant a baby that's not totally viable in the long term. So like, I could be one of those people. Or I could have just gotten lucky and like, I had 4 straws to pull from. 1 out of 4 was you're going to be pregnant. And I just happened to pull that one and I got lucky, So there's just like a lot of unknowns. So that's just an interesting fact. Another fact is that I think it's about between 10 to 20% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. So it's actually a pretty large percentage. And again, like after I went through it, I was really shocked by learning like all of that. But anyways, I feel like I'm going off in like a tangent, but we're in this season of like, all right, let's like not waste any more time. Let's keep trying like when we know that we can, but also we also want to have like sex for us too. And it's this like interesting, and a lot of people comment on this, like when they begin consciously conceiving, it shifts the dynamic of sexuality. And for a lot of people, it makes having sex harder. And in some ways it has, like in some ways sex will always be different for me now that I've had procreative sex. And now I'm like in that season of really intentionally having procreative sex. But yeah, it also is really healing. Like Andrew and I had like one particular experience after I miscarried where we connected sexually, and it was like one of the best sexual experiences that we had ever had, but it was also one of the most intense. Like I think I came like 4 times, and the last time I came, we came together, and it felt like the weight of the world was descending on my shoulders, and I was just bawling. I needed it. I needed this fuck so bad. Like I was walking through the day so emotionally stuck, and that sexual experience supported me in like moving the energy and motion, the emotion that was stuck up and out of my body. And Andrew was like, what's going on? Like, do you want to talk about it? Which, by the way, I cry like half of the time we have sex. Like, I'm not exaggerating, literally half of the time. So this isn't anything new for him. He loves it. He's like, good, like, yes, don't hold back, keep it coming. But he was also curious, like, what's coming up for you? And I said, everything that's ever happened and everything that is ever going to happen. That's what's going on. Like, all of the beauty and the pain that I've experienced, and also knowing that like I'm just at the beginning. Like there's so much more to experience. So anyways, just wanted to share that a little bit. That was helpful. Okay, I'm going to wind it down. How do I want to wind this down? I didn't really plan for this one super well, but I'm happy with it. I hope you guys are happy with it. I hope you got something from it, but thank you for being here. Thank you for opening yourself up to this sexy and sacred conversation. I just want to highlight too that we're doing a little sale. I can't even believe I didn't talk about this, but the day that this comes out, which is 3 days from now, July 9th, is going to be the 1 year and 1 day anniversary of my bestseller, Sacred Sex Ed, coming out. If you haven't got my book, Sacred Sex Ed, it's on Amazon. It's $22. No excuses. It is such a profound, deep expression of my work and of what's possible for you. I have episodes all about that. If you want like a little taste, a little teaser, I'll drop those episodes here, tell you the number so you can go find them if you want to find them. Sorry, I'm just trying to find them. Okay, episode 179 is called Sacred Sex Ed. So that would be a really good one to go back and listen to if you're curious about the book and you want to get a little transmission before you purchase it. But highly recommend buying the book on the 1-year anniversary. If you've read my book and haven't left a review on Amazon, please, 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 please do it. Please do it. It helps more people find the book. It helps the book show up more in the Amazon search results. And if you've read the book, you know how incredibly life-changing and empowering it is. And more people get to have that empowerment, right? Right. So please do your part and leave a review. But yeah, as a special little birthday present for you. It's my book's birthday, but as a birthday present for you, we're doing a massive sale on all my programs just for this week. So if you're listening in the week of July 9th, the sale will end on July 13th. So we'll put the link to the sale in the show notes for you to get to peruse. Because you're going to get the best deals on all of my work. Your life is going to change. It's going to be amazing. And this doesn't happen often. I don't do big sales like this across the board ever, really. So it's a great opportunity to deepen in this work and in this world. I'll also mention that the book now has an audiobook component. And if you're listening to the podcast, I'm guessing that you like that audio component. So if you want to listen to the book, you can also buy the audiobook on Amazon as well. So all that being said, thank you again for opening yourself up to this tender, deep, weird, wild, somewhat chaotic expression of my soul. Have a sexy and spiritual day, and I'll catch you next time on Talk Tantra to Me. Ta-ta. All right, babe, let's talk about your pleasure power. You know you're meant to experience more ecstasy, more ease, more turn on in your body and in life. But where is your hidden block? What's keeping you from fully owning or receiving even more pleasure in this delicious life? I've created a free Pleasure Power quiz to help you uncover your unique pleasure archetype and pinpoint exactly where your growth edge is. Also, when you take the quiz, you'll get access to a juicy Tantra ritual, also free and tailored to your unique pleasure archetype. Also, don't miss the Sexual Shadow Work Workbook, your guide to clearing shame, activating your turn on, and stepping into your most radiant and embodied self. Also free. Find them both at www.talktantratome.com/free or get the link in the show notes. Life is about to get very juicy.